If you're celebrating a special occasion or just love fine dining, you're in the right place. Come experience the crown jewel of South Point restaurants, Michael's Gourmet Room.
Welcome.
With over 600 different types of wines and magnificent dishes prepared tableside, you'll revel in the rich classic Vegas decor and the best black tie service in the world. This intimate gourmet room has earned accolades galore. Come to Michael's Gourmet Room for an unforgettable dining experience. Another famous restaurant is the Silverado Steakhouse, where you'll find the charm and service that discerning patrons require. From top quality steaks and chops to fresh seafood and desserts, you'll love the award-winning wine list and menu at Silverado Steakhouse. Steak lovers have even more options with primarily prime rib. Catering to hearty appetites, the menu features a variety of flavorful prime rib cuts, dry-aged to ensure tenderness, and then seasoned and slowly roasted. Although prime rib is our specialty, it's not the only thing on the menu. There's something for everyone. And if you're craving a taste of Italy, come experience delicious Italian cuisine and the attentive service at Don Vito's. Our culinary team starts with the freshest ingredients and transforms them into traditional favorites. And don't forget Italian desserts. Don Vito's. Savor the taste of Italy. Finally, if sushi is more your style, join us at the popular Zenshin Asian restaurant and sushi bar, where we're serving up the freshest sashimi, nigiri, and sushi rolls. And beyond the sushi, an exciting contemporary Asian cuisine menu, plus a variety of specialty drinks, Japanese and domestic beer, wine, and sake. Balance your hunger with Zenshin.
Welcome in. It is Football Frenzy here on Sports by the Book on a Monday, the final Monday NFL game of the 2024 season. I'm Jeff Parles. Ryan McCormick. Actually, Ryan Donald is to my right, actually.
Yeah.
Should get that one right, actually. I should know your name properly. Yeah. Ryan's
Hall
here.
of Famer here. Yeah.
And on the far side of the desk are...
on
the far side of the desk, our fearless leader, Chris Andrews, Sportsbook Director here as always. Good afternoon, Chris.
Good afternoon to you guys. A nice shirt. I like that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
He's from Penn Hills, rival of my high school.
He's pretty good at Pitt, pretty good in the NFL.
Yeah,
that Donald guy, pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good at this football thing.
As oh God, my brain. Was the coach from the Jacksonville coach that got fired from Ohio State?
Urban
Meyer. Who didn't know who the hell he was?
Urban Meyer. Boy, we might have to look out for that 99.
Oh, yeah. God, Herb. What wonderful tenure that was in Jacksonville. Yeah, Mr. Donald will have a bust in Canton. Yeah. When he got 3 more years, he's got to wait.
For sure.
3 more years, he's got to wait. Chris, let's just start with tonight, and then we'll work our way backwards. Of course, this game moved to Arizona just for one more time for people who may have been in and out this whole week. Every book is different on what they do for the site change, even though the time of game and date is the same. For people that may be tuning in for the first time, if you made a bet before the site change, what is the rule here at the South Point?
Money back. If you had a straight bet, you get your money back. If you had a parlay, it reduces down. If you had 2 teams, it goes to 1. 3 goes to 2. A teaser, if you had a 2-team teaser, it's no action. But even if you lost, if you lost that game, it goes to no action. And it does, there's 2 ways to look at it. Some guys do it another way, but this is the way we do it. I do feel that this protects the bettors in a better way. Yeah. And it's funny, I'm going to a meeting on Wednesday with the state to discuss some house rules and how we can get some, uniformity, I guess. And I think ours is better. And I'll tell you the example. The Buffalo game, was it last year where the total dropped to like 33?
I don't remember if it was last year, or 2 years ago. It was a game against, I think it was a game against Cleveland.
The total dropped like 15 points.
Yeah, and then it got moved to Detroit.
And they got moved. Yeah. So if you bet it with us and you got the best of the number, and then all of a sudden you didn't have the best of the number. You got saved. You got, but other places had it. And like I said, there's good and bad both ways, but I think ours protects the better in a better way. Because here the home field advantage meant about 1.5 points.
Right. And of course, now this was moved. This was moved on Thursday.
Yeah, pretty early after our show.
It was Thursday right after we talked to Dwayne. Yep. So as soon as it was moved, as soon as you knew it was in Arizona, you guys put up a new betting number as well. Those bets we know are the way it's going to be here today with that one, Chris. And I'll just throw this out of you real quick. First time these teams met, it was 30-20. Remember, it was a Thursday night game.
I barely remember.
It was actually the exact same scenario where Minnesota lost to Detroit the week before.
Okay.
And now, what did they do last week? They lost to Detroit last week. And now, instead of a short week, it's a long week traveling to the western part of the country. Ryan and I were kind of discussing this a little bit before. Fast track, indoors. It was 50 the first time around on a short week, and 47.5 on this total. That was
the money showing.
I know it's showing on the under. That's what it surprises me a little bit here today.
Well, every game's different, Jeff. And I think if you read Jeff Fogel's newsletter this morning, which I try to read it all the time, we talk about how teams right now they're playing a little more conservative. They're trying to throw short passes, establish the running games. Now, is that going to happen in every game? I don't know. But it certainly happened so far, and you could see my Uncle Jack, Hall of Famer. Any games like a Game 7 or a deciding game, he always felt the defense was going to be the answer. Now, listen, there's times when it wasn't. We remember Philadelphia and New England a couple years ago. What was that score? Whatever it was, defense did not rule the day, but. A lot of games, it is defense that rules the day, and that looks like that's the handicap for tonight's game.
Ryan and I will have our full thoughts as we go through. This might be a good night to sprinkle some weird touchdowns. By the way, yesterday, if you had any of those first touchdown scores yesterday, good job. Good job. Franklin in the first game. The second game was Dotson, and then the late game last night
first as an Eagle
was Naomi Brown, who was amazing last night for the Commanders. I think I saw a $10 bet paid high six figures.
Really?
Yes. If you did a parlay with all three of them, Chris.
Okay.
If you did a parlay with all three of them, now you still made bank if you bet one of them.
Yeah.
So it was a $10 bet, couple $100 either way. The lowest number on the board with those guys was 45-1 of the three that
touchdown,
kidding.
Yeah, on the first touchdown, which is pretty darn good. All those guys were north of 6-1 at a time yesterday. So we'll try to find one, which Lightning could strike 3 times. It's very hard to strike 4 times in a row. Let's just go with that. But going back to last night first, where you've mentioned this, Vinny has mentioned this, where you get an underdog to win outright. That's usually a pretty good result in a playoff game for you guys. And yesterday, the underdog that won outright was the night game with Washington, and also the game with all that money on the over went under every single number as well. But really, my biggest takeaway from that game is Washington going into Detroit next week, even with the week off for the Lions, but that defense is still injured as heck. The early numbers, you guys are at 9 right now. There's some 9.5 in the market. There was
Where did we open it?
You guys opened at 8.5.
Yeah, I mean, so the money showed on the favorite.
Yeah, the interesting one, Jeff Sherman and company over at the Westgate opened at 10.5. That got gobbled up before you could even blink. Legitimately couldn't even blink. But it's interesting with this one. I think the Commanders are alive to at least cover a big number, kind of in your theory of you don't even have to be overly competitive in order to cover a 9-point spread in the NFL.
Well, 8.5 is exactly what my numbers came to. So that's what I opened it. Not that I always do that because we could talk about the Buffalo game a little bit later.
Oh, we'll get there.
But I think first of all, this is Jaden Daniels. I mean, this kid's pretty legit. Now we saw an adjustment by defensive coordinators to Stroud from last year. Are we going to see the same thing with Daniels next year as guys get a little more film on him and maybe figure out some ways to interrupt his success? But right now, this kid is really playing well. One of the better one of the better rookie performances I can remember in a long time.
Well, just something to add to that. So prior to this season, there had been 0 instances of a rookie quarterback leading a team to 0 turnovers, 0 punts in a game, and end up winning. Jaden Daniels has done it 3 times this year.
Tell me that one again.
Led his 0 turnovers,
Yeah.
0 punts.
Yeah.
Your team wins the game as a rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels has done it 3 times.
And
in
no
his
one
rookie
else has
year.
done it.
No other quarterback has done it in NFL
No
history.
Andrew Luck.
No Andrew Luck.
No C.J. Stroud.
No C.J. Stroud. This is according to Opta stats.
That one was floating around even before they tweeted that out.
I got to tell you, the kid, he's not just good, he's composed.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and that makes a big difference, obviously, for a rookie quarterback, and that in a big situation here.
To be a rookie and handle an NFL offense so efficiently, and to be able to do that, and then you add in, I completely forgot.
Don't worry, I forgot Urban Meyer. I'm with you.
Well, regardless, I'll just throw this out there. You made this point real quick. I think the light bulb just went off, didn't it? No?
It's like, oh my goodness.
It's almost getting there.
Oh my goodness.
He's got AC/DC. He doesn't have that direct current.
You mentioned this.
Wow.
I mentioned this probably about 2 months ago with Daniels when it was in the middle of the year. The light bulb just went.
Mm-hmm.
But the super experienced college guy, 5 years in college, of course, his last
for
year.
a couple colleges.
Played for Arizona State and then LSU.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Brian Kelly couldn't even win 10 games with Daniels, Malik Neighbors, and Brian Thomas.
Yeah.
Great work there. But I think there's something to be said in this new era of college football now, and it will bleed into the NFL, and Daniels might just be the first case of it. You may see guys who, after the original eligibility, after 3 years, be like, wait a second, this guy's not even a draftable quarterback. And then guy explodes his last year or two in college, turns into a top 10 pick, and the extra experience along with the extra skill set that Daniels clearly has, you're going to see some guys who are late bloomers that turn into very good NFL quarterbacks.
I hope that's the case.
I think
go ahead, Mr. Lightbulb, but I have something else to say. Go ahead.
So the Commanders' last 5 games have all been decided on the final play of the game and have all been wins by the Commanders, starting with a defensive stop against the Saints, a touchdown against the Eagles, touchdown against the Falcons, a touchdown against the Cowboys, and last night's game-winning field goal against the Buccaneers. So 5 straight games, the final play of the game was the deciding play of the game.
So you're saying take 8.5 or 9?
It could be.
Okay.
Could be.
By the way, I was going to mention, you talk about Aller. Okay, quarterbacks.
Sure.
Aller for Penn State. Some guys had him like late first round. Well, maybe before this last game. But I mean, kids are going to make a couple million staying in school.
Look at Carson Beck.
Yeah, Carson Beck. Where's he at? Miami?
Carson Beck's going to Miami making $4.1 million in NIL.
I mean, so I think that in that sense, now there's a lot of stuff we got to fix with this NIL, but that in that sense, I think that's going to help the game overall. First of all, it'll help the college game, and I think it'll help the pro game. Because like I said, I root for all these kids to do well, even though I have to root against half of them on a weekly basis. But it takes somebody like Nix for Denver.
Yeah.
Is he that good? I'm not sure. But he fit that offense very, very well. And his experience, I think, helped him come in and produce in the first year, because we didn't think much of Denver. What was our season win total going into this year? Like, would you say 5.5, 6? Okay.
5.5, 6.
I mean, and obviously we well outperformed that. So I think in a large sense, this could help the overall game. And like I was, whatever helps the game is good for us, and I'm for that.
I mean, look at Penix down in Atlanta too.
Sure.
I mean, very early returns, but look,
because he wasn't that highly regarded. He's not a great physical specimen.
Well, he was interesting because he had all those injuries in Indiana, and then goes to Washington, and obviously playing in an unexpected national championship game appearance for Washington, which pushed him into the top 10, pushed the board down to Alabama, but. Penix looked good.
Yeah.
He had some rookie-like throws, but for the most part, looked good. And hey, look, I hope what you just said is right, where the college game not only gets better quarterback play because guys are hanging around because they're getting paid, and then the NFL game, like you said, gets better because guys are just more seasoned.
Yep. How many kids do we see come out of college that just get ruined rather than helped?
Yeah,
a lot
too
of
many.
Yeah.
Going to yesterday afternoon, Eagles and Packers. Boy, you sent the Toyotathon thing yesterday, which is good.
I know Ryan's a
big fan of it. Jordan Love was bad yesterday. Honestly, neither quarterback was particularly good yesterday.
The only difference was Philly didn't need Hurts.
Hurts didn't turn the ball over either. Yeah. That was a big thing in that game. Really, from the get-go, I mean, Green Bay fumbles the kickoff, and then they don't get the benefit of what looked pretty obvious on review, but when it's all said and done, that Philly defense, Chris, that we've talked about all year as being top flight, was top flight yet again. And the under was a cakewalk, even though, again, you get a junk touchdown in less than 2 minutes. That's usually an early death sentence for an under. Yeah. But Philadelphia's defense was excellent. And like you said, they didn't need much from Jalen Hurts, and he didn't turn the ball over like Green Bay did 4 times for the Packers yesterday.
Well, that's why I still think Philly has a great chance to win this whole thing. I think their defense is better than anybody's, but I think Baltimore's is very interesting because you look back like last, 6 games, I guess, something like that. Baltimore's defense, because what was the number?
Yeah, the pass defense couldn't stop anybody.
But they've come around, and I'm not sure if it was coaching change, health, whatever, probably a combination of a few things. But their defense has really played well, like I said, about the last 5-6 weeks, arguably the best in the NFL. But I still think Philly, because of that defense, is going to have a great chance, whoever they wind up playing. They're definitely a very live dog, and we'll see. We're still a little bit away, but I think they, if they play Detroit in the final NFC final, I think they have a great chance to win that game.
So next week, the Eagles will be getting the winner of tonight's game between the Vikings and Rams. It would be a rematch if the Rams end up winning. It would be the first time this season that the Vikings will play the Eagles, but the Eagles will be without Nakobe Dean, one of their starting linebackers who is out for now the rest of the season.
Patella injury yesterday. Didn't look good at the time. We now know it is bad injury that he'll be done for the rest of the year. Be interesting to see what happens tonight and how numbers get jumbled based off of the result tonight. Won't ask you to make any inferences right now because we need to see what happens in Glendale tonight. Chris, we got the matchup we wanted with Baltimore and Buffalo, or at least most people wanted, and I'm going to be honest with you. I thought Jordan opening number was the right number. Buffalo, the smallest of favorites, 1.5 when you opened it, and the bettors said, no, we're going to bet the Ravens on the road. And the Ravens are 1-point favorites here and across the board right now. And Chris, maybe it ends up being right. Maybe the Ravens end up winning this game. Buffalo's favored against Kansas City last year in this exact same spot. Again, this might be the hardest handicap of the entire NFL playoffs. These teams are dead even to me, to a T. But, boy, I'm a little bit surprised the market has been this aggressive on Baltimore this early so far.
Well, I am too. I opened what I thought was the right number, which was Buffalo 1.5. My reasoning in that, and I still think Buffalo has one of the few true home field advantages. And I talked about this on Frank's show, or maybe I think I talked to her after. I was talking to Alex White. So I know we both follow Jeff Fogel quite a bit. Fogel, about a month ago, had an article about home field advantage and why it's dissipated over the last couple of years. Now, a lot of it has to do with the stadiums themselves. Well, a lot of the newer stadiums, like the way Jeff described, the sound goes up rather than to the field. Well, this is an old stadium. I still think Buffalo has a pretty good home field advantage. And it gets a little more complicated. We don't have all the time right now. But it involves turnovers and that sort of thing. I think this game could easily turn on a turnover. And I think right now that home field could create a situation where the road team is more likely to turn the ball over. Because I think these teams are really matched perfectly. You start looking up and down. Baltimore's defense has played well, as I said, just a few minutes ago in the last 5-6 weeks. And I know Harbaugh, I think the world of him as a coach, but McDermott's done a great job. We didn't have Buffalo. A lot of people didn't have Buffalo penciled in as winning this division. They won it in a cakewalk.
Had it clinched before December even came around.
Yeah. So, I think McDermott's, probably not as well known as Harbaugh and not given the same credit. I think he's done a great job. And I really think if you look at the two quarterbacks, they're going to finish 1-2 in the MVP voting. I'm not sure who's going to win. Probably Jackson's had a little bit better year, But who's more valuable to their team? You can make that argument that it's Allen. But I think Jackson has had a better year. There's no doubt. But, I think these teams are really terrifically matched. And if somehow they met in the Super Bowl, I'd be happy as hell. That can't happen, of course. But I think we're going to do a lot of business in this game. And I wouldn't be surprised if this game turns on some sort of turnover or a punt return or something crazy. That's why I'm looking at this game.
When this game opened 1.5 for Buffalo, I thought the Ravens was an automatic teaser leg. And now that it's flipped the other way, whichever side you get the underdog, automatic teaser leg. This game is going to be a very tight game. Two fantastic offenses, the two MVP candidates. I'm very excited for this match.
Home team +7 doesn't look too bad, or higher.
Yeah, you might also just gotten me going with putting the obvious teaser leg from tonight in with a bunch of stuff this upcoming week.
I got to tell you, we're going to have a lot of teaser action this coming week.
Yeah,
because now you look at the Detroit game,
Kansas City's
look
8.
at the Kansas City game, and the teasing dogs in this game. We're going to have to beat some teasers out there, fellas.
Chris, before we let you go back to work, Steelers season, of course, ended last Saturday.
Did it?
Yeah, sorry. Sorry.
I think it ended a month ago, but go ahead.
You officially, but the Tomlin discussion is fascinating to me. It sounds like he's completely safe. It doesn't sound like they're moving on at all, unless if Jerry Jones comes and calls with some ridiculous offer since McCarthy's not returning to Dallas that we found out this morning. But where do the Steelers go from here, Chris?
I don't know. And I tweeted this out. Me and Frank talked about it on the show earlier. I mean, Tomlin's lost the city, and that's a big, big thing in Pittsburgh. Cities like, we can see similarities now in Buffalo and Detroit. The team just means so much to that city, and that's what it's meant to Pittsburgh. And he's lost them. I mean, I talk to my friends. I still communicate with probably about 20-some guys from back home. Not one was enthusiastic about the game on Sunday or Saturday. They just weren't. He's lost that support from the city, and that's huge. Doesn't sound like he's lost the locker room. It doesn't sound like that. I mean, evidently hasn't lost the Rooneys at this point. But I think there has to be some big changes that need to happen in Pittsburgh, including, I think my humble opinion, and obviously a lot of people are going to disagree with me. I think it's time for him to move on. It's like an Andy Reid type situation. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think it would be best for both sides of the fan base and for Mike Tomlin to separate. But when you also look at it from a different fan base perspective, I would take Mike Tomlin in a heartbeat.
He'd probably be great for the Bears. He'd be terrific.
It's just once you get past a point of just being stagnant, you're going to want something different. And I do think the Steelers are in that position. Just a fun note based off of the quarterback performance for Russell Wilson in that game.
Please.
8th best quarterback rating in a playoff loss in NFL history.
How is that possible?
Did they watch the game?
I was going to say, how is that even possible? He didn't even play well.
But to add to that, last night's game, Baker Mayfield has the best quarterback rating in a playoff loss in NFL history.
I thought Baker did play well last night.
He played well, but I mean, he put 20 points on the board.
I know. Well, that was a weird game last night. I mean, there's only one punt between the two teams in the game.
I know.
Kind of crazy that it went under.
Take issue with that. I mean, I've seen some games where I like looking at QBR because it's a different measurement, right. But boy, it could be way off.
I mean, Russell Wilson, that's crazy to me. That's crazy. By the way, Jaden Daniels becomes the first rookie to win a road playoff game since Mark Sanchez, which is 2009.
Okay.
So he will look to join Mark Sanchez and Joe Flacco as the only quarterbacks to win 2 road playoff games as a rookie quarterback.
Flacco won 2?
Flacco won 2. Yep. They beat New England and they beat Tennessee. I think was that what it was? 2008 playoffs, Ryan, was the year on Flacco. Okay. Jets beat the Bengals and at the time the San Diego Chargers.
Hey, Sanchez started out a pretty good quarterback. But I say defensive coordinators, they watch films too.
No, I know. I know. So, Chris, thank you as always.
Okay, have a great show, guys.
We will. We'll
sure.
See what we can get. By the way, one last thing actually I want to tell you before you go. Since Mike Tomlin has won his last playoff game, 28 different NFL head coaches have won a playoff game. Kevin O'Connell would be number 29 if that happens here, which is kind of astounding in all honesty.
I think Barack Obama was still president when he won the last playoff game.
I'm going to have to. It was 2017. It's just a matter of what date.
Check the date. I think Barack Obama was the president.
Dan Quinn and Kyle Shanahan were both still in Atlanta.
Yeah, that was the 2016 season, right, Chris? 2016 season.
Yeah,
they won. That was the ice game in Kansas City that got moved to a later time. Steelers won, of course, without a touchdown that game because, of course, they did.
Why wouldn't they? Yeah.
Why not? That was 5 days before Inauguration Day. So, yes, that was the last few days of Obama's presidency, Chris.
See you later.
There you go on that note. Chris Andrews, everyone. All right, Ryan, let's dive into this game here tonight. What a fun one this is going to be. Again, game moves from LA to Arizona. Still all of our thoughts with everyone impacted by this devastation with the fires in the greater Los Angeles area. Rams, so by the time this game was moved, it was down to a pick.
Yes.
In LA. Now on a neutral site, Minnesota is the 2.5-point favorite. And it's been pretty consistent at 2.5, opened 2, reopened at 2, now at 2.5. Total's gone down a half point, which, again, you and I were talking about this before the show. First meeting between these teams, remember that was a game Puka Nacua came back from injury, and Minnesota had no idea how to cover him. No clue in that game. Nacua, remember that was, again, that game was over 2.5 months ago, and I'm still aggravated that I didn't ladder Nakua's numbers in that game. That was back the week before Halloween. 30-20 was the final for that game. Nacua had 106 yards and 7 receptions in the game. Kupp had a touchdown as well. Demarcus Robinson caught 2 as well. But Ryan, I have the Rams in a teaser. Are legged up with Buffalo, which no sweat whatsoever when it was all said and done. Didn't matter what number I got. They're up to 8.5 in that teaser to close that out here tonight. But at total, if we're going singular bets here, I think that total over is better than either side on a traditional sense here tonight.
Okay. I'm not so much sold on a side of the total just because I have a good amount of information that these coaches tend to
they know each other pretty well.
They take it pretty seriously, especially come playoff time. So, but just to bring up the fires in Los Angeles, a big thing right now, and kind of why I believe this has gone from that pick when it was moved to this 2.5 in Arizona, is that people think in the same fashion that the Chargers were affected in Houston by everything going on, that the Rams will be affected in a similar fashion. I would be hesitant in thinking that way because the Cardinals were so hospitable for their division rival. They flew out their own plane. They flew out Rams Rams family to come stay with them in Arizona. Dogs were made the trip. Cats made the trip. So these Rams players are with their families. They're not entirely. They don't have the distraction of worrying about things in their livelihoods in Los Angeles, other than their homes, of course. So I wouldn't be as hesitant on taking the Rams in this game. But with that being said, this game did happen earlier this year. And so a stat from @LockandCash on X, teams that lost their prior matchup, so the Vikings in this case, but have a better record at this time of the second game are 38-22 against the spread. So a 63% cover percentage. But I do want to point out that Kevin O'Connell is just 3-7 straight up and against the spread when facing a team in a second matchup of the year, regardless of records at the time of the game. And he is 2-1 so far this season. Sean McVay in a repeat matchup in the same season. The Rams are 19-8 straight up, 18-8-1 against the spread in the second game versus opponents, and the total is 14-12-1. And in the playoffs, Sean McVay is 4-0 straight up, 3-1 against the spread, and the total is just 1-3 in the playoffs. So I give the coaching edge to Sean McVay in this game. It's just a matter of the production we get from the offenses, and whether or not turnovers happen in this game.
Well, I would say more so than anything, you have definitely an advantage at head coach on the LA side. You have a definite advantage at quarterback as well in this game. Wide receivers are pretty darn even. Obviously, the best ones on the Minnesota side, but the collection you can argue. I mean, they're both receiving cores are awesome.
Yes.
And it's funny because last week, every play that was thrown to Hawkinson was a negative play. I would imagine that won't be the case this week for Minnesota. You have two shaky offensive lines, too, in this game. I know the Vikings won 14 football games this year, which is really crazy. The most wins ever for a team that has to go on the road in the first round of the NFL playoffs. But they had a shaky offensive line the whole year. The Rams, well documented, obscene injuries. They've gotten healthier. Again, the fact that the Rams are here, where they, at the bye, had one win, completely shattered injury-wise, and they end up winning 10 games and win the division. I know he won a Super Bowl, and I know he inherited a disaster when he got to L.A. and they won the division in the year one with him and young Jared Goff. This is McVay's best coaching job.
Without the Hall of Famer in the middle of the defensive line as
without
well.
Donald there. Of course, obviously now 3 years out. But, yeah, this is an amazing coach job by McVay, which he's no shot of winning Coach of the Year, but just because of the guy on the other sideline and, honestly, the guy in D.C., as we saw again last night with Washington. Washington's 13 wins this year when they were probably the worst team in the NFL other than Carolina last year. Ridiculous what Quinn has done. And he has a little shot to win Coach of the Year. Just shows how strong the Coach of the Year market has been this year. I want to go to some props first before we go to the anytime touchdown market. Sure. I want to touch on the quarterbacks first because Ryan, I'm very concerned about Sam Darnold in this game. Last week the lights were too bright. It was as simple as that. He was missing high. He was making decisions he hadn't made all year. I know Aaron Glenn did a great job of confusing him, bringing exotic pressures like Brian Flores does for the Minnesota defense, but Darnold was bamboozled last week. It was the first time he had looked like he did in Carolina and New York. It was the second worst game since the I'm Seeing Ghost games as well, which is obviously the standard and really the main reason that it fell apart in New York for him. If you look at the props here tonight, Darnold's interception is only minus 120. That feels pretty good to take a shot on that. We had to wait to get the Bo Nix one yesterday. But I think of all these numbers on the board here, even though there's one Stafford number I really like. On the Darnold numbers, the interception anytime, over half, that would be the play on the Darnold side. I'm just super concerned that he may not know what he's looking at, and this is a snowball effect. And boy, if Minnesota loses this game and Darnold looks bad in their two biggest games of the year, it might be the one scenario where they go to J.J. McCarthy next year, even though that may not be the right thing to do.
Yeah. For this one, when you go back and look at that first matchup, the Vikings were missing a pretty big piece of their offense. T.J. Hawkinson didn't play in that game. And so getting him back in this offense adds a whole nother facet to the offense. And so just to kind of dive into Sam Darnold's numbers, 34.5 attempts. He's 7-10 this year. 4 straight overs. Did go under in the first matchup. Over in 7 of 10 since that first matchup. So since getting TJ Hawkinson back, Sam Darnold's gone over that attempt total in 7 of the 10. 22.5 completions, just 4-13 this season. Has gone under in 6 of the last 8. Under in the first matchup, so not entirely efficient for Sam Darnold this season. 275 passing yards, 6-11 this season. Under in 9 of the last 13. Under in the first matchup, and the median on the road for Sam Darnold, 243.5. So over 30 yards shorter than that pass yardage, so I would be much more inclined to take the under for Sam Darnold passing yards. But again, with how prolific the weapons are on offense, you can get very large plays at will from this offense, especially when Sam Darnold throws deep balls more efficiently than any other quarterback in the league. And then his passing touchdowns, 1.5, 12-5 to the over this year. Went over in the first matchup after going under versus the Lions. And so same thing here. He went under last week versus the Lions and should be slated to go over in tonight's game. His interceptions, he has 9 9 games this season with an interception, only 2 of which were in the last 8 games, and did not have an interception in the first matchup. So if you like the Rams in this one, I would think, yes, you need to take Sam Darnold to make a mistake, throw an interception. But if you like the Vikings in this game, I would think on the flip side, taking Matthew Stafford to throw an interception. Looking at his numbers specifically, so 33.5 pass attempts. He is also 6-10 this season with 5 straight unders in 6 of the last 7. But you're gonna. Matthew Stafford went over every single one of these in the first matchup. So 22.5 completions, 7-9 this season, 3 straight unders, under in 4 of the last 5. But again, over in the first matchup. 245 passing yards, 7-9 this season, 3 straight unders, under in 5 of 6. Again, over in the first matchup. 1.5 passing touchdowns, 6-10 this season, 3 straight unders. But prior to those 3 straight unders, he had 6 of 7 overs, which started with that first matchup. So Matthew Stafford, when this offense got their piece back in Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, and Kyren Williams, the offense really heated up and has kind of faltered the last couple of weeks. His interception this season, 8-8. Only once since week 11 has he thrown an interception, has 14 touchdowns, 5 interceptions in his career in this Arizona Cardinals stadium, 7 touchdowns, 1 interception since becoming a Los Angeles Ram, but 5 straight games against the Minnesota Vikings does Matthew Stafford have an interception thrown. So I do like Matthew Stafford to throw an interception tonight.
The Stafford bet I like is the longest completion.
Okay.
The one thing I will throw out there with Minnesota's defense, as good as they've been, they have had their issues with the pass game.
Yep.
And Stafford eviscerates the blitz. That has always been the case with Stafford. His numbers are always in the top 5 of quarterbacks against the blitz.
Yep.
Another year this year where he's in the top 5 against the blitz. So what is Brian Flores like doing more than anything? Bringing a blitz.
Uh-oh.
So to me, this is a scenario where this 35.5 is a big number. Both of these longest completion numbers are big here tonight, just because, again, fast track, high-end wide receivers in this game, questionable defenses on both sides. Minnesota's defense is good, but you understand what I'm saying. Yeah. I like over 35.5 on the longest completions. I also like Stafford over 1.5 passing touchdowns here tonight. Look, could Kyren Williams have 2 rushing touchdowns? Yeah, absolutely. Could vulture, and we could be in a little bit of trouble. But this feels like a night. I remember the first matchup. I brought it up before. DeMarcus Robinson had a huge game in that game. Nacua obviously had the huge game. Kupp scored. I don't know how Minnesota covers these guys. And this could honestly go on the Rams side, too, where I don't know how the Rams cover those guys. Again, this bleeds into me liking the over on the 47.5. Since I'm talking Rams, I guess we'll go to the Rams player props before we go to the Minnesota side of things. Kyren Williams' attempts feels low at 14.5.
Oh, it's 20.5.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Oh, man.
Because if we were 14.5, it'd be like, wow, we can really, really bang that thing over. So let's ignore the Williams numbers altogether because that was the only thing I was interested in. Yeah. I don't know what else to do.
Those are Aaron Jones numbers.
That makes a lot more sense. Puka Nacua is 7.5 juiced over. Now, here's the question, Ryan. Which of the 2 elite Rams wide receivers is the one to get the long reception from Stafford here tonight?
Yep.
So my theory is take them both over. And look, could you get 1 20-yard catch from Kupp? Get there? Yeah, for sure. And I would like Nacua to be the one who gets the over 35.5.
Yep.
But look, I think this is a big night for these Rams pass catchers against this Minnesota defense that, again, has struggled against the pass, coupled with the Stafford owning the blitz throughout his career. That's where I come down on this one, where we'll look at both of the big guys. And if you want to take a shot on DeMarcus Robinson props, I don't hate that either.
So I do like Puka Nacua tonight. I don't know if I liked him to get at least 8 catches. That 7.5 receptions is very high. But he is 5-6 this season to that number. All 5 overs came in the last 8 games. Did have 7 catches in the first matchup this season. Cooper Kupp's also kind of taken a little bit of a fall off from this Rams offense the last couple of weeks. He only has 4 catches. 9 targets in the last 3 games for Cooper Kupp. So not exactly a great showing for him, but looking exactly at their numbers. So 92.5 receiving yards for Puka Nacua. He is 7-4 this season to the over in 7 of the 10 since returning from injury, and did go over in that first matchup. And then his longest reception, that 26.5, over in 4 of the 11, did go under in that first matchup. His anytime touchdown, he is 3-8 this season, but he's pretty good at finding it when he's due. So this is the 3rd instance of his career that he's gone 4 games or weeks without a touchdown. Each of the prior instances, he scored a touchdown in the next game. So I do love a Puka Nacua touchdown tonight. And then looking at Cooper Kupp, as I said, 9 targets in the last 3 games. So 4.5 receptions, over in 7 of 12 this season, though. Under in 3 straight, under in 4 of the last 5. Did go over in that first matchup. That 48.5 receiving yards, 7-5 to the over. Again, under in 3 straight, under in 4 of the last 5. That over 19.5 receiving, or longest reception. 8-4 this season. 4 straight wins, a loss, 2 straight wins, a loss, a win, 2 straight losses, and last week did go over that 19.5. And it is Cooper Kupp, and he was Matthew Stafford's favorite target for the first 3 years that Matthew Stafford was in Los Angeles. So the relationship is there in order to get you there on these props, but wouldn't necessarily be confident in the receptions for Cooper Kupp. And I'll go through Kyren Williams, just reading the numbers, even though they're not correct on your screen. Sorry about that. But 20.5 attempts, 8-8 this season, over in 3 of the last 4, did go over in the first matchup. 84.5 rush yards, 9-7 this season, over in 4 of the last 5, did go over in the first matchup. 1.5 catches, 9-7 this season, over in 3 of the last 4, also went over in the first matchup. That 100.5 total yards for Kyren Williams, 7-9 this season, did go over the first matchup. And his anytime touchdown, -145, is 12-4 this season. Yes, in 5 of the last 6 games. Did score in the first matchup this season. And a good sign for him in this game is that the Vikings allow the 2nd most rush yards per game to opposing running backs. So I also do like Kyren Williams to go over his yardages tonight.
On the Minnesota side of things, you mentioned TJ Hawkinson before. Last week was a train wreck for him.
Well, all of Minnesota's offense.
It felt like every single play to him ended up either in a net negative play, an incompletion, and almost like every single play to Hawk last week was a mess. So the question is there the bounce back here? Hawkinson's numbers, other than last week, have been mostly good since coming back from a year plus being out. You have him on the sheet. You have Justin Jefferson on the sheet as well. Look, I'm never going to say no to taking Jetta props. Like, if you want to take him, go ahead. He's probably going to approach all these numbers here tonight, and it's going to be a sweat one way or another. And then, of course, if he hits one big play, everything but the receptions probably looks pretty good on that front. I don't know what to do with the Aaron Jones scenario because they've been using Cam Akers a lot more than they probably should have been over the last few weeks. By the way, Akers, of course, the former Ram. I know. Spot here, I know. I know. Our friend Alex White would be bringing up the revenge angle on that. I'm going to go something a little bit different here, Ryan McCormick. I took some Josh Oliver stuff here tonight.
Okay.
Yes, I went off the board completely, Ryan, and went with the second tight end. Is it insane? Yeah, probably. But I took a little piece of Josh Allen for 25 plus yards at a big bolted nearing 5-1 price. I also took Oliver 2+ catches at 2-1 as well. We'll get to the anytime touchdown market. I think you get the feel of where I'm going here. But the one thing that O'Connell has been able to do when you think he's going to zig, he's zagged.
Yep.
I think you're going to find that tonight here. I think Hawkinson, this could be big multiple tight end night. It could be Jordan Addison night as well. But that was the craziness I went with. I went a little bit off the beaten path, with just taking a bunch of Josh Oliver alts here tonight. Right.
Well, I kind of went through the same route that you did with Josh Oliver, but I went with TJ Hawkinson because Josh Oliver was the starter in the first matchup earlier this year.
Yes, he was.
And he scored in that game. So
yes,
TJ Hawkinson,
I remember that one. That was a good catch, Ryan.
TJ Hawkinson would then just fill back into his role and take over what Josh Oliver did in that first game. So I do like TJ Hawkinson tonight. as soon as he came back from injury, the Vikings had won 9 straight games. Last week was his first time getting 75% of snaps since December 16th of 2023. So, yeah. But his 4.5 receptions plus price to the over is 4 and 6 this season. He's flip-flopped every week since returning, and he's done the same thing on his receiving yardage. So 44.5 receiving yards. He's 5 and 5 this season too. But it really correlates for TJ Hawkinson. So under, and then he had one where he went back to back. But the last few weeks he's gone over, under. So he would be due for an over in this spot based on his season's performance. His longest reception, that's 17.5 yards. He's 6 and 4 to the over this season. And then another reason why I like TJ Hawkinson's anytime touchdown tonight is the fact that he has yet to score one this season. TJ Hawkinson last scored a touchdown November 27th of 2023. It is the longest drought of his career. The former number 8 overall pick and the obvious number 1 tight end in this offense, I think, has a big night tonight against the Rams, who do allow a ridiculous yardage to tight ends. Let me see. So over the last 3 weeks, the Rams allowed 40 targets, 31 catches, 314 yards, and 3 touchdowns to tight ends. Over the season, on average, the Rams allow over 8 targets per game, over 6 catches per game, and almost 65 yards per game to tight ends. So, again, I like TJ Hawkinson tonight.
To the anytime touchdown market, since you just brought it up, we're going back to 2023 on Hawkinson. Of course, remember, he missed almost a whole calendar year with significant injury. Oh, there you go. I did not get as good of the numbers that DK is having on Josh Oliver, because the best number I found out here in Vegas was plus 950. That's what I took. That was over at Circa, actually, was the best of the number. The other guys that you can look at here tonight, by the way, you're laying prices with JJ and Kyron, which not much of a shock there. As we discussed, very weird weekend for first touchdowns. Oh, boy. I mean, just other than Nico Collins on Saturday, which was pretty normal, all things considered. And then, for Baltimore, I don't even remember who scored the first touchdown for Baltimore. That was Rashad Bateman, which was relatively normal because he was the number 1 wide receiver in that game. Right. Yesterday was totally insane, with every single first touchdown guy being north of 40-1 yesterday, with Franklin in the first game, Jahan Dotson in the second game, and then De'Ami Brown, who, by the way, was awesome yesterday for the Commanders with that first touchdown yesterday. If we get another one of those, because I do have Josh Oliver at 55-1, we'll have a nice day on the show. But the regular, more chalky ones, I think Cooper Kupp's your guy at the regular numbers. Hawkinson is your guy at the more regular numbers here tonight, Ryan.
Yeah. The plus prices I like, Puka Nacua and TJ Hawkinson. Yep. Those are the one guys I like for each team, most confident with for each team. So
Matthew Stafford, who sitting at 16-1. Yeah. When's the last time Stafford even had a rushing touchdown, Ryan?
Not this year.
And he did not have one this year. I know that, but
since 2022, he actually had 3 that year. 1 in the regular season and 2 in the postseason. And he's never had an anytime touchdown against the Vikings.
Okay. As we all expected.
Yeah.
He's only played the Vikings a lot because being in the NFC North all those years with Detroit, to say the very least. All right. Ryan, anything else here before we bring our friend Vinny in?
So one note I did want to add, and something I kind of looked at before the weekend, is adding an extra 2 to the line for favorites, or looking at a teaser leg on the underdog side. So I kind of went through all the games prior. You can check my Twitter for that. But for this game specifically, the Vikings are 10-6-1 in general against the spread, 7-5-1 as the favorite. But if you add an extra 2, so make it a -4.5 in this game, meaning that it would not be larger than a field goal game. So -4.5. The Vikings are 6-7 against the spread this season. The Los Angeles Rams this season are 9-8 against the spread, 5-4 against the spread as the underdog. But when you make them the teaser leg, adding 6 to this 2.5, so making it 8.5, the Los Angeles Rams are 8-1 against the spread. So again, I think the Rams are a fantastic teaser leg tonight, as Jeff had said earlier in the show. So this should be a one-score game. And to that point, the Rams are 8-5 this season in one-score games. And I have a note on O'Connell in one score. Excuse me. I'm going to go back to the point that I made about the second time facing a team in the regular season. So Kevin O'Connell facing a team twice a year, 3-7 straight up, 3-7 against the spread in game 2. The only time that he had done so in the playoffs was in 2022 when they hosted the Giants. And of course, that's the game that earned Daniel Jones $160 million, and now the Giants are here. So Kevin O'Connell, not, again, as I had said earlier in the episode, I give the coaching advantage to Sean McVay. And if it is a one-score game, I would be more confident in the Rams to get it done than the Vikings.
It's a one-score game. Also, like you said, forget the coaching advantage, quarterback advantage is on the LA side. That I understand why Minnesota's favored in this game. I get it. If you're making me, again, already have them in the teaser.
Yeah.
Might even come back and tease them with some stuff coming up this weekend as well. But they'll wrap up that Bills teaser. That would be nice to just sweat free here. But Stafford's better than Darnold. McVay's a better coach. As good as O'Connell is, McVay is still a better coach than Kevin O'Connell. You give me plus 125, plus 130 on the Rams, I'm going to take that as well. Yeah. Small. And I do like this game over as well. All right, let's take a short break, because I don't think we've actually had a commercial here, so we gotta at least do one of those, and then we'll bring Vinny in for the end of the show here, looking at next week, and also looking at 1 week from tonight, where people are betting Notre Dame and Ohio State. We'll discuss it all when we get back. Sports by the Book, Football Frenzy on a Monday.
Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the poker room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold 'em or fold 'em, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. You'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. Bingo! And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books, 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our sports book, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day. The friendly ticket writers are happy to help, and it's conveniently located next to the famous Del Mar Deli, where you'll find supersized portions of delicious deli items like roast beef, pastrami, and Reuben sandwiches, or soups, salads, and pizza, plus spectacular desserts fit for a king. And right next door is the race book, over 150 seats, each with its own TV screen. There are 16 interactive player terminals, so you can bet right from your seat.
We're back in at Sports by the Book, Football Frenzy on a Monday. Jeff Parles, Ryan McCormick, Vinny Magliulo here as well.
I'm here.
He's here.
Ryan, who do you like tonight?
This might be the last chance I get to wear it this year.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
I will tell you, a jersey that looks like very clean on television, the number is very loud on that jersey in person.
They do
99.
Yeah. Well, it's Aaron Donald, so it's going to be loud regardless, but it's loud.
Hi, boys.
Yeah.
So, Vinny,
How you doing?
before we get to tonight,
Yeah.
I want to circle to 1 week from tonight, because we'll be back here 1 week from tonight on this show, previewing the national championship game in Atlanta between Ohio State and Georgia, or Ohio State, Notre Dame. In Atlanta, Georgia. This has been a very fun betting game so far, even a week plus beforehand, where you guys opened 9.5 with the market. And it's been a constant stream on Notre Dame. There's some 8 in the market. You guys are 8.5. The money line is ranging anywhere from minus 385 on the high end on Ohio State out there to what you guys have, which is actually the market low on the Buckeyes at minus 350.
350.
And then Notre Dame money line high is plus 315. Money line market lows plus 280. You guys are at plus 290. That total is pretty steady at 46.
Haven't moved the total yet.
It's been an interesting few days. Still got a week to go on this one, obviously, with 2 absolute blue bloods in a national title game.
That game is going to have a huge decision for this reason. The fact that it's been up for every playoff game so far in the NFL, right? Every game this weekend, all 6 games, including tonight's. And we've got 4 games next week, 2 on Saturday and 2 on Sunday, right? So there'll be 10 NFL games keyed to that Ohio State Notre Dame game.
That's awesome.
So
multi-week fuse.
That's awesome.
Multi-week fuse.
It's like a nuclear bomb. They may as well put this game out at the test site.
No, it's. I'm going to learn about it at the museum one day, right, Vinny?
That's right.
But
a mushroom cloud with that game.
I will tell you, this is again my Notre Dame tickets. I'm not hedging them. I'm just going to let them fly.
What do you have? Notre Dame futures?
I have Notre Dame futures, but I've already covered. I've already covered what I already covered that with winning on Notre Dame through the tournament. So I'm comfortable.
All right.
Also bet Ohio State over Notre Dame to take a little bit up more of it as well. Took that before the semifinals.
Notre Dame over Ohio State?
That's what I meant to say. Yes, Notre Dame over Ohio State, not the reverse. I probably should have taken a little bit of that too, but whatever. We're all in on the Irish at this point.
Okay.
No reason.
So you're already ahead.
I'm already ahead. I'm just trying to let's see how ahead I can get. That's basically where we're at.
There you go.
On that, and then. Yeah, we'll see. Ryan, we'll have the full breakdown a week from today. We'll also discuss it on Friday's show on when Vinny and Chris are in here. Of course, no Thursday afternoon show, but we will be here on Thursday morning as always. Yep. The show is always 9 in the morning except for Saturdays, which is at 8 in the morning.
Still a Friday afternoon show as well.
Yep, Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock. It'll be Vinny, Chris, Jimmy, maybe Chris Felica as well on Friday. All right, Vinny, tonight. Rams, Vikings, Ryan and I broke it down. We talked about it a little bit with Chris earlier. The Rams, I would imagine, are a huge teaser decision here tonight, especially since the move of game, which pushed this to 2 and 2.5. But I would imagine, though, Vinny, just regular sense-wise, if Minnesota won this game by 1 point, you guys wouldn't mind that one.
That'd be a good result. Of course, the odds of that happening are, not. It could happen, of course. 7-6 to 10-9.
7-6,
like.
yeah.
Why not? But,
28-27 would be pretty good.
That's going to happen too. But at one point, Vikings win, given everything carrying over to it and the way that's been bet. And I have to tell you, the betting's been great. The betting's been very good, very, very steady throughout the weekend. And really all day today. There has not been a lull. Not a huge schedule of today's events to go with it. What, about 6 NBA games? There's not that many college games. There's about 5 or 6 college games, and they've already started. A light NHL schedule as well. So, but everything that's tied to this game tonight is carryover from the weekend. So good action. Vikings here holding steady at 2.5. $1.45 on the money line right now, and 47.5. Yeah.
Well, so you were joking around with the Vikings -1, but the Vikings have 6 games this year decided by a field goal or less.
There you go.
They're one. Well, the last couple of years, right? When you look at it,
2 years ago was.
And 2 years ago was incredible,
beyond insane.
I think it was every week. It seemed decided by one, and they were pulling them out. But this number, and again, for those who may not be, we had the first game. Once the game was moved from Los Angeles to Arizona, then we had to adjust it. It was refunded, and this is a new game. But folks have had plenty of time to adjust to that too. And if you had the first game tied up in multi-leg wagers, then those multi-legs were reduced by 1. or 2 if you had both sides in total.
The rest of the NFL week, obviously, we talked about it with Chris earlier, but moving ahead to this weekend, 4 games.
Yeah.
We see Kansas City and Detroit, both on Saturday for the first time this postseason. Kansas City is 8, by the way, against the Texans, who, yet again, win as a home underdog and in round 1 for the second consecutive year.
Yeah.
And they do it because the other quarterback implodes and continues to throw continue interceptions.
Credit their defense, right?
Their defense was awesome.
Was really
defense
good.
was awesome on Saturday afternoon.
And timely scoring. Joe Mixon was critical. You know, you look at Mixon's game, not these breakaways, but just hard driving yards that consumed the clock as well. So this will be an interesting game, right? The Chiefs, their starters haven't played in a few weeks now. By the time this game kicks off, right? So don't forget they did not play in week 18. So, but this number has not moved. The total's down 40 to a point to 42. Once we get to the weekend, the public will. They'll raise the big picket fence with the big D, but they'll be lying.
This will be again. This is another teaser galore deal. Chiefs down to 2. We mentioned with Chris earlier. Buffalo now up to 7 in the Sunday afternoon showdown. Mm-hmm. Tonight's game, if you want to just start it off now. I guess even the Lions down to 3 technically against against the Commanders too.
To go back here, Jeff. You can get the Texans plus 14.
Well,
right,
do that
too, 6 point. So I think there's when you look at these games,
Commanders plus 15,
plus 15 too, plus 2 touchdowns. I mean, you'll see these games still have plenty of teaser action on both teams.
I said this to Chris earlier, and I know where his numbers came out, and I know that you guys have been bet up to 9. There's one book in town, very respected.
On the Lions,
On the Lions. I know a very respected book in town opened this game 10.5. And Vinny, forget Don't Blink. Legitimately, I opened the app to bet the 10.5, and it was gone by the time I opened the app.
Well, I'm sure.
It was like,
it might have been a typo.
It was there for
if it's there,
it was there it was there for less than a blink. But boy, I mentioned this earlier in the show, and I'm curious to see how this market plays it this week. With even though Detroit has the week off, they're going to be a little bit healthier, just as naturally progressive. I think Washington is live in this game. Not only just to cover, I think they're live to pull what would be a stone cold stunner in this one as well.
They could, but the thing about the Lions, right? Of the teams, listen, of the first round buys, who needed it more?
Detroit needed
clearly
it big time.
The Lions with their injuries, right? But again, credit their depth in that game against Minnesota in the final week of the season. But we've seen this with the Lions all year. The thing about the Lions is, let's say they start off slow. I mean, I go back to the game with Stafford. It was against the Texans, right? With 5 interceptions in the first half, 5 turnovers in the first half. This team is never out of a game. So that speaks to the line too, and I think that speaks to not only the way the line opened, but the way the line has been bet and in people's minds. I can't imagine the Commanders, and again, full marks to them yesterday. Give them credit. Can they pull off an upset here? Absolutely. They're in the game. But the Lions just it's a full court, press. They're like the 1990 UNLV Rebels, or better yet, 1990 Loyola Marymount. You were just flying down the field.
Well, I think you were right with the run-in Rebels. The Lions like to run over everybody, and the Commanders have not been able to stop it. So
they don't want to get in a shootout. That I can tell you. That does not benefit the Commanders here.
I agree with you.
I don't know. They didn't punt at all yesterday. The one thing that the Commanders can do, and we saw this actually play out yesterday, it can be a higher scoring game, but they are so good at taking time off the clock.
Yeah.
They ran the last sub 5 minutes off to kick the field goal, which doink in. Gotta love that in any fashion.
But a turnover was critical too, right?
Well, that whole sequence was, actually, it's a point that a lot of people that will just point to, Baker made a mistake. The center for Tampa twice last night mistiming the snap on the fumble, which led to the Baker fumble, on the mistiming of the McMillan handoff, which of course led to the Commander touchdown. Yep. And then a play that I think will get forgotten in the grand scheme of things, but I thought ended up being the most important play of the whole game, period. Tampa down 3 at 3rd and a foot with a little under 5 minutes to go. And the center snapped the ball early. Yeah. And that play got totally blown up because of it. Tampa then had to kick the field goal because it was back to 4th and 5, and they never saw the ball again.
Excellent point, Jeff. And I'm glad you brought it up, because pay attention to when you look at the Bucs yesterday, and you look at the Packers, who had other issues too with injuries.
Got battered during the game
center,
too. Yeah.
But the center position, offensive line, we're going to certainly keep track of all injuries, right? And particularly the skill positions or a premium defender. But pay attention to offensive line and the health of the offensive lines, particularly as these playoffs continue to move forward. They're going to be critical.
Last night for Washington, real quick, I had a 9-minute and 8-second touchdown drive, had a 5.5 minute field goal drive, had a 4.5 minute field goal drive, had a 5.5 minute drive that was the go for it on 4th and goal that they didn't get before the Baker Mayfield fumble. And then the 4:41, that was the drive for the Gonzalez kick at the end. Maybe this is one of those games that total is really high, too, in the mid-50s for Detroit and Washington. Yesterday, they didn't punt. Game goes under pretty comfortably with that game. Could be another one of those where there's just not a lot of possessions, and just throw that out there. Be cautious on betting that high of a total, even though in theory it looks like at 55.5, may be pretty good to bet it over because of two great offenses. Be careful. This might not be a lot of possessions in this game, especially with how efficient and how willing both of these offenses are to take time off the clock.
Initial money's come in on the under. We did open
I think that's right, Vinny. I think that's right.
Yeah.
Be a lot of fun. I can't wait to break these games down through the week.
Good game.
This is a fascinating game with Jaden Daniels going to Motown as the night game on Saturday. All right, Ryan, let's get some winners tonight.
Let's do it.
Let's get some winners tonight.
I do. One thing I did connect
the
dots for. Last night, the Minnesota Wild were in town.
Okay.
And Arizona's right down I-15. So that's a pretty quick trip for anybody that made the trip from Minnesota to watch the Wild, to go down to Arizona to watch the Vikings, make it a 2-game, 2-sport trip. So there could be a good amount of Vikings fans in the crowd. I know they travel well regardless, but
even if it was in LA, it probably would have been
not much of a change.
The other issue is certainly with what's happening in Los Angeles too. I'm not so sure how many folks are going to be traveling. Again, our thoughts and prayers go to all the folks and the first responders. A lot of there's several units of firefighters from Las Vegas that are now down in Los Angeles. So we bid them safe travels.
Vinny, Ryan, thank you guys as always. Jerry, Drew Dog, Ann, Sean, wherever you may be, thank you as always. Thank you for listening, for watching in the chat. Flo was in there. Mini Dar was there. Agent 87. I know Mini Dar and Agent 87 not too happy with what happened to their Broncos yesterday. Yeah. Vince was in there as well. 75% of you have Minnesota winning tonight. Yep. So Ryan and I, or at least I'm in the 25 percentile with the chat here today, liking the Rams against the Vikings here tonight. We are back on this show 1 week from today. We do not have an afternoon show on Thursday this week. We do have one next week at 3 o'clock Pacific time, 1 week from tonight. Notre Dame, Ohio State. We'll break it all down. We'll look at the Final Four of the NFL playoffs that night as well. But Sports by the Book is live all week, 9 a.m. every single day this week, except for Saturday, which is at 8 a.m. Alex and Kenny are here tomorrow morning. I'll be here on Thursday morning and the weekend. So we have all the content you need to get you ready for the NFL, the NHL, NBA, college hoops, everything, college football, everything you need over the next few weeks and months. We'll see you again next time. Sports by the Book, Football Frenzy.